kill me, man! Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man!
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Hello everyone, thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose, I love comic books, I love talking about them, I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan site that will have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. So, here we are. Finally, Batman 426 from 1988 by Jim Starlin, Jim Aparo, and Mike DiCarlo, with this wonderful cover by the one and only Mike Mignola, still finding himself, still in the not quite what we know of, but evolving. So, I have a Batman playlist. I've been covering Jim Starlin's run. Except for the Millennium crossovers, I skipped those. Jim Aparo has also sort of not... He's the Batman regular artist, but he's been off for quite a few months. I don't know whether it was preparing for this or what else he was doing. I could not find anything else that he was doing during this time. So there were a lot of issues leading up to this that Jim Aparo did not do. So go to the playlist if you want to get caught up. Essentially, Robin's being a jerk, and here we go. So, Death in the Family was... I keep saying to people that this was always the intent. The intent was to kill Robin. I do not believe for a freaking second that he was never meant to die. He was always meant to die. It was always, he was always gonna die. Here, like I said, here's this very striking cover. I love the red next to the blue. It's just awesome. So, the cover. Robin begins a quest for his identity. His mother awaits him somewhere in the Middle East, but sudden and violent death is also waiting for him. And the most tragic secret of all, will Batman be in time? I think it should be on time, but that's all right. So, Death in the Family, Chapter 1. We got our credits here. Jim Starlin had a short but productive run. I think he had a 2-year run on Batman. He also did Batman the Cult with Bernie Wrightson, which was absolutely incredible. Good stuff. So, like I said, I got a Batman playlist. Feel free to check it out. Dennis O'Neil is the editor, who was the longtime writer in the 70s and is the one who basically rescued Batman from all the campiness. So Dennis O'Neil is more important than people believe. So all of Jim Starlin's stories in Batman are done in first or second person. So, here we go. It took me 3 weeks to track down the Kitty Porn Ring's main warehouse. The bus was all set to go. Robin and I were in hiding, waiting for our police backup. Suddenly, my partner runs out of patience. That's the way it goes sometimes with the best laid plans of mice and men. And Batman yells at Robin, "Robin, what do you think you're doing?" And Robin's like, "What I was trained to do. Gonna kick some tail." Real quick, Jim Aparo. This is during his later years. Jim Aparo is is an incredible artist. I call him the John Romita of DC, but his he was having some issues toward the end. One of the things I do not like about this late period Jim Aparo is how adult he makes Robin look. Now, I don't know whether that was a effort based on how Jim Starlin was treating him, but he's supposed to be a freaking teenager. This isn't Nightwing. This is Robin. He looks like someone in his 20s, which is what makes the whole thing seem a little bit. He just could not get these guys to like I said, he's supposed to be a kid. Makes him look like an adult. Now, Jim Starlin's Robin was a lot different than the Detective Comics Robin. In fact, Robin stopped appearing in Detective Comics. He was only appearing now in Batman. Once they changed writers in Detective Comics from Mike W. Barr to Alan Grant. Alan Grant went solo Batman stories. So it was one of the things. Like I said, he looks big. So all right, so Robin's jumping. I have covered um toward the end of I covered Alan Davis's run on Detective Comics. It's on the playlist. Feel free to check it out. You'll hear me kind of say, it was two different Robins basically appearing at the same time. So it was nice to see him leave Detective Comic books because it was getting a little confusing between young Robin and older Robin showing up. So we've kind of, I think Jim Starlin's Robin is probably 17, 18 years old, whereas Detective Comics Robin was like 13. So it's a big age difference here. So all right, we continue here. I should have known something like this would happen. Robin, Jason Todd has been acting oddly of late. So the other thing I was going to bring up, it is Jason Todd. So very moody, resentful, reckless. That attitude is about to get him killed. I bring my entire 210 pounds on them hard. There'll be some serious hospital time in their immediate futures. I try to take it a little easier on the other Gunsels. No traction for these guys. Just need for extensive dental work. So I've lost my taste for the whole affair by the time I reach the last pornographer. I toss him at Robin. Let the boy finish him off. He obviously has a dangerous high level of aggressive energy to work of. So one of the things about this late era Jim Aparo also is if you look at his early work in the 60s and 70s, he was so much more dynamic than this. I just can't quite pin it. I am a huge Aparo fan. I love his work, but his late 80s, early 90s work was not up to snuff with his earlier stuff. I hate to be one of those people, but check out his if you have a chance, there's a Jim Aparo Batman book trade paperback that collected all his work from his career on Batman, and look at his early stuff. Check out his stuff on Aquaman, his stuff on The Brave and the Bold. It was exquisite. So when I see this panel here of Rob, there's no effort to me in what he was doing, which is so it's so sad because I've seen what this guy can do, and like I said, it wasn't in. He was much older now during this time. Aparo has since passed away. So Jim Aparo was born in 32, so he was almost 60 during this time. He was probably like 58 or so. And in today's world, that's still not old. But at that time, I don't know, people were just a little different at that. You mean you would think that I don't know whether the level of energy, I don't know whether he was going through some stuff. But like I said, it's just not up to snuff. And if you don't believe me, like I said, go check out some of his earlier work. So Jim Aparo died tragically. He was 72. He died in 2005. He had cancer, and cancer is such a terrible disease. So he still lived a while more past this, but like I said, it just didn't pass the snuff. But here we go. I try to keep my temper in check. I remind myself Jason is just a kid, which again, he's he's not drawn like just a kid. So, well, that takes care of those creeps, says Robin. So we got this. I like how the black line here, but they did like a color hold or something, just continued on through. So Batman grabs him. What the devil was that all about? Didn't I tell you to hold up? And Robin's like, yeah, I heard you, but we had the goods on these lowlights. I didn't see any reason to wait. There were only 8 of them. And Batman goes, don't you understand there are procedures even we have to follow? I promised to let Gordon in on the bust. You jumped the gun. Batman working with the police at that time. So, what's worse, you nearly got yourself killed doing it. Near misses don't count, says Robin here. What do you think we're doing here? Playing some game? Of course, all life's a game, says Robin. And he walks off, which I find absolutely awesome. So, this is why I say he was always going to die. You can't convince me otherwise. So, all right. So, continuing that first person narration of Jim Starlin's Batman run. When I get home to Wayne Manor a couple of hours later, I find Robin's not yet returned. In a way, I'm relieved. It gives me a chance to talk to him with my oldest friend, meaning Alfred. I think I've made a terrible mistake, Alfred. The kid's losing it. He divided into those thugs, or no, sorry. He dived into those thugs like someone looking to die. And Alfred's like, I've been noticing some disquieting things about Master Jason myself. And so, the lad avoids talking about his parents lately. I've come upon him several times looking at that battered old photograph of his mother and father, crying. When he sees me, he's hidden the picture and left the room, refusing to talk. And Batman says, in other words, I may have started Jason as Robin before he had a chance to come to grips with his parents' death. Being your partner is not exactly the best situation for a teenager adjusting to such a loss. That's true, yet Batman keeps doing it. You think he would learn from his mistakes. So, and Batman just kind of looks down. Alfred looks out. And so Batman says, then I must try to rectify the situation. Jason's going off active duty immediately. Well, we all know that doesn't work with kids. And Jason says, and I don't have a thing to say about it, huh? How long have you been standing there, Jason? I refuse to believe that Batman would not friggin' have ears of, like not being able to hear Jason in there. And anyway, long enough, says Jason. You can't be serious about this. And Batman says, I most definitely am. You're in no shape emotionally to be on the streets. I can't believe this, says Robin. I've made this decision capriciously, Jason. Big words. A person's got to have his head screwed on right for this line of work. You're hurting, kid. You've got a lot of anger and pain inside you. It's going to take time to get rid of it. Let me help you work this out. We can start by talking about your parents. You can see him getting angry. One real quick about during this era, Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane had already started making, and Mark Silvestri, can't forget about Mark Silvestri, had already started making waves. Art was changing to me at that time. I appreciate it now as an adult. At that time, Batman seemed so outdated because you had a guy who had been drawing comics for the 50s and 60s and 70s, still working on Batman in the 80s, while Jim Lee, who I believe was I believe he was doing the Punisher at that time, getting ready to jump into Uncanny X-Men. I might be misremembering, but I believe he was doing Punisher at that time. You had McFarlane on Spider-Man already. I believe he had already done the Hulk. Mark Silvestri was on Uncanny X-Men for sure during that time. So a lot of stuff, a lot of these artists were changing. And to me, at that time, I was in high school. Jim Aparo just seemed old. Now, I appreciate it now. When you look at it now, after I myself am now still a little younger than what he was, I am 50. I can appreciate this. But as a kid back then, I'm like, Batman just wasn't cutting it for me. Again, because I'd seen Jim Lee, Will Portacio, or some people say Portacio, Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld was about to really start changing the way people were, all that stuff. He was part of that movement, that Future Image Comics. I've never been much of an Eric Larson guy, so, or Jim Valentino. Sorry if you're a fan. Haven't been much of a big fan of those guys. However, Silvestri and Jim Lee and Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane were absolute beasts. And that is what, unfortunately, some of these comic books were competing with. So when I saw Jim Aparo, I was like, what the hell is this? Again, kids don't tend to always appreciate the subtleties. But as I mentioned, check out early Jim Aparo, because guy was absolutely great. So, all right. I am sorry. This is turning more into a commentary than actually me going through this issue. So, all right. So Jason says, you want to talk? Talk to Alfred. So we got this. I love the headline. Joker escapes again. Because he's always escapes. I do like this version of the Joker. Love the chin. Absolutely wonderful. So, for years I've tried to talk Arkham Asylum into tightening up its security. It's adequate for your run-of-the-mill psychopathic killer, but for someone like the Joker, well, and all these ambulances are there, they probably expect a huge toll. All the people he killed there. So here we got Commissioner Gordon, because, he's always involved. One of the things I would have probably done is I would have replaced Jim Gordon, not as commissioner, but I probably would have had a stand-in like a detective, because Jim Gordon, a commissioner, I understand why they have him, but, he's a character that's been around for forever and ever and ever, but I would have a detective, because commissioners just don't have the time to go deal with all these things. They got a busy job, you'd think, trying to solve crime, even if it's a big thing. It's just not what it's about. So apparently the Joker was able to gain access to the janitor's storage room. It never occurred to anyone that he might be able to mix up a version of that lethal laughing gas of his using only common cleaning agents. He then simply walked out the front door. So you can see here all the people that he killed, left quite a body count, leaving 8 dead men in his wake. The killing never stops with him. I've put out an APB, that means all points bulletin, on the Joker and have alerted the Justice League and the Titans. Good. Everyone's going to want a piece of the Joker after what he did to Barbara. He's referring to the Killing Joke. But I hope I come across him first. I doubt he'll remain on the loose very long this time. Not with every law enforcement agency in the country making him their number one priority. And so, boss, why'd we come here? We ought to be heading for the state line. Not that that would help, actually, but all right. You're just too hot to be sticking around Gotham, boss. Cripes, I don't think you'd be safe anywhere in the country. And Joker's like, I'm well aware of that fact, Rupert. I happen to be crazy, not stupid. The Joker knows when it's time to take a vacation. So, you know, the funny thing is that you think that Commissioner Gordon would be more pissed off about what happened to Barbara and the Killing Joke. So, all right. Unfortunately, this will have to be a working vacation. The authorities have been busy seizing most of my hidden assets during my latest stay at beautiful Arkham Asylum. They was pretty ticked off at what you did to Gordon's daughter, boss. Real quick, the Killing Joke is in the plans. I am finishing up. I do Alan Moore, and I'm finishing up his Captain Britain run, and then I'm going to jump into Miracle Man, but before I do Miracle Man, there will be a Killing Joke. So, if you look in that Batman playlist, depending on when you see this, you may see it, but you may not. So, as of this recording, I have not done the Killing Joke. I have to finish the Captain Britain part of Alan Moore, then the Killing Joke, then Miracle Man. So, all right. That's awfully petty of them. The woman only got what she was obviously asking for. But boss, you left her a cripple. Well, remind me to send her a handful of pencils and a tin cup. Fortunately, the government wasn't able to unearth all of my buried treasures, and so you can see him getting these keys and opening that lock. In here, something I was saving to break up the boredom of my future rainy afternoon. My very own cruise missile. So he's got one missile left here. And that guy's even going, oh my God. How in the blazes did you come to this, boss? Through a friend of mine in the military who owed me a big favor. I planned to fire it at City Hall someday. But I guess I'll now have to sell it to some Arab terrorists instead. Keep in mind, it's the 80s. There's no political correctness in the 80s. That's the way it was. It's the only way I can think of to safely replenish my depleted funds. You and I will dismantle this firecracker and ship it to the Middle East. We'll never get it out of the country, boss. The rocket's got to be hotter than even you are. Not to worry, Rupert, my lad. On paper, this cruise missile doesn't even exist. No one knows it's missing. It's another favor my military friend did for me before his immense untimely demise. I know, Rupert, in a way, I think things have worked out for the best. The time has come for me to make a few changes in my life. Crime hasn't been all that good to me of late. I've been spending more time at Arkham Asylum than out. I've been seriously thinking of getting into a new line of work. Some endeavor where my special talents will be properly appreciated. Something like international politics. And the guy's like, what? This baby ought to bring enough for me to buy into that game. Care to join me in the fast lane, Rupert? And he's like, sure, boss. And then, why not? So, all right. So, here comes Robin kind of walking the streets of Gotham. And so, Jason's into his third hour of walking, trying to let off steam. I wonder if he even notices where he's going. My guess is that he'll end up somewhere in his former neighborhood, Crime Alley. You can see this guy looking at him, this other homeless guy. He might even find himself over the old homestead, the apartment building he once shared with his now dead parents. So, and that's exactly where he is. If that happens, the memories will hit hard. It won't be easy for him, but it might be for the best. The boy's a lot of sorrow. The boy's got a lot of sorrow to work out of his system. And so this is the mom. Her name was Catherine Todd, a good woman who probably loved her son deeply, only wanted the best for him. And then his dad, Willis Todd, probably loved Jason also, but that's why he drifted into crime, hoping to give his son a better life. The poor fool realized too late that those kinds of shortcuts never pan out. Catherine Todd's life was cut short by a disease that just didn't care how much love she had in her heart. Jason's dad fell victim to the vicious gangster he was working for, Two-Face. That left Jason an orphan, living in an abandoned building when I found him. Thought I had his best interests at heart when I rushed him into training to be the new Robin. Guess you know what they say, the path to hell is paved with, which is good intentions, by the way. You're young Jason Todd, aren't you? Yes, then come up here, I've got something for you. And so he comes up. Hello? Come in. You were a friend of my mother's, Mrs. Walker, wasn't it? That's right. How you been doing? Getting by. You kind of disappeared right after your mother died. Juvenile authorities were looking to put me in state home. I didn't want to go. Can't blame you for that. But when no one claimed your family's possessions, the landlord sold them off. I was able to save this stuff for you because in case you ever came back. Afraid it's a little water damage. Darn leaky roofs. The owner's too cheap to fix them. And he says, photograph, personal papers. Thought it might be stuff you might like to have. This is terrific. How can I ever thank you? And she's like, it ain't nothing. Now I got to shoo you out of here, lad. I got shopping to do. You take care of yourself. And he's smiling, taking his stuff. So Gaspar Taylor is a known associate of the Joker's. The address I have on file for him is a transient hotel on the Lower East Side. And so the guy's packing or unpacking, probably packing. Looks like I arrived just in time. Going somewhere, Gaspar? Almost forgot what fast reflexes Gaspar has as he pulls out a gun. Guess I'm letting my worries about Jason get in the way of my performance on the job. How do you guys like the first person perspective? Jim Starlin is best known for his Infinity Gauntlet saga at Marvel, all the Thanos cosmic soap opera stuff with Captain Marvel and all that stuff. He's trying, I think, to use a lot of the tropes from those 80s movies like Lethal Weapon. There was a lot of Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone stuff. What do you guys think? It does seem like this could come out straight out of an 80s movie. So, you can't afford to get sloppy in this line of work. You might end up dead. That realization causes me to overcompensate. I take Gaspar down too hard. He'll be out for hours. I came here for information. I'll not be getting any from Gaspar. But maybe Gaspar's luggage will tell me a tale or two. This does remind me of some Denny O'Neil stories. So, a passport and a visa for Lebanon. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think they were handing those out in the 80s. So, I spent the next few hours trying to track down more of the Joker's former henchmen. No luck. They all seem to have disappeared. All vacationing in Lebanon, maybe? Yes. When I phoned home at nightfall, I learned that Jason has finally returned. Alfred informs me that he went directly into his room, requesting he not be disturbed. Photographs are a bridge to the past, black and white reminders of the way things used to be, links to those who are no longer with us, priceless treasures. So I think we went from uh first person to just straight up narration. So the box also contains some of his parents' personal papers, a deed for an acre of land in Virginia, a lapse insurance policy. Some of the papers are his own. Old great school report cards, his birth certificate, which contains, and then he looks, a gut wrenching surprise. There's his own name on it, Jason Peter Todd, just as it should be. There's his father's name, all correct and proper. The trouble lies with his mother's name. Jason's mother's name was Catherine, not S something. So you can see in here, like the name has been. Her last name's water damage, smeared, unreadable. S. Who? How? Why? It must take him some time before he accepts the truth. As impossible as it seems, he finally grasps with the realization that Catherine Todd wasn't his real mother. But then, who was? How to find the truth. His mother and father are dead. Can't ask them. And he's like, mother. Stepmother, a bitter realization. His real life mother is someone he's never met. Someone who may still be alive. It's amazing how he makes that so quickly. Like, the woman who raised him would be, the one he would consider mother. I mean, it should make her lost, but it seems like, oh, I'm over it. My real mom's alive. So, you can see. I'm all okay with the fact that they attempted to kill him. I have no problem. And for those of you who know who Jason Todd is, now, obviously, nobody. It's comic books. Nobody stays dead. So, I won't ruin it for you this time. But of course, if you follow Batman, you know who Jason Todd ends up becoming. So, all right, there has to be a way to find out. I taught the boy how to be a detective. He uses that skill. So wait, were we always in? How the hell was Batman narrating that part? I don't know. Okay, we're just gonna go on. Batman shouldn't have been narrating that part. He has no freaking idea what he was doing during this time. An address book, Robin says. My father's address book. Kids, address books are what people had before phones, where you had to actually keep people's numbers because so you wouldn't forget. Look for women whose first names start with S. There's 3 of them. Only trouble is these addresses have got to be several years out of date. How do I locate them all after this time? Of course, the computer in the Batcave. Well, it took me all night scouring the system, but I finally found all 3 women. Of course, my luck's running true to form. They're all currently out of the country, all in the Middle East and Africa of all places. Charmin Rosen emigrated to Israel in 1992 and currently works for the Israeli Secret Service. Shiva Wusan, a lady with a shadowy past, suspected of being a mercenary operating out of Lebanon at the moment. And Dr. Sheila Haywood, working on famine relief efforts in Ethiopia. And so Robin goes, so what do I do now? Take what I have to Bruce, ask for help? No way. I know what he'd say. You're in no shape to be running off on this type of investigation. Besides, Bruce wouldn't care about finding my real mother. All he gets off on is catching crooks. He probably couldn't even understand why I'd want to locate the woman. And so, you see, this is as he is has his hands behind his back, just kind of pacing. This job's all mine. Can't depend on anyone for help. Of course, I have to thank Bruce for financing my little adventure. He's got all these credit cards. Very thoughtful of him to provide me with all this plastic gold. Feel kind of shabby running off like this. Bruce and Alfred have been real kind to me. But I guess I really don't have much of a choice in the matter, do I? I mean, she's my mom, he says. And so, this is a great plane, Joker. We've got the whole cruise missile packed into with room to spare. Yes, it's very roomy, and the U.S. Navy shouldn't realize it's missing until sometime tomorrow. Killed the poor pilot. Joker's over the tops is, to me, so it just fits. It just fits. So then we'll be all settled and doing business in Lebanon, which is all working out quite delightfully. So here we have another airplane. What about rum and a Coke? First class section or not, champ, you don't look ripe enough for rum. How about a straight Coke instead? Okay. And he looks out. He goes, I'm on my way, Mom. So, all right. So Batman finally shows up. I tumble on the Joker's hideout just before dawns. No one's home. Looks like he left the country in a hurry. Left a real mess behind. It's an interesting mess, though. Sophisticated tools and a Geiger counter. Tire tracks on the floor, heavy-duty trucks. I recognize the tread designs as a type only the military uses. I flip on the Geiger counter, knowing what I'll find. Every fiber of me is hoping I'm wrong. I'm not. The room's background radiation count is still within the safe range, but much higher than it should be. It all comes together for me as he drops the Geiger counter. A nuclear device in the hands of that madman. The mind boggles at the possible uses he'd put into it. And Batman says, but why Lebanon? Of course, the lunatics broke. The government's seizing every asset of his they can locate. He's going to sell whatever he has, probably to terrorists. Fortunately, my association with the Justice League will grease the way for me over in Lebanon. Might as well take advantage of being part of an internationally recognized organization. My contacts over there as Bruce Wayne millionaire will also come in handy. So Batman arrives and to the Batcave, and Alfred comes running to him. Master Bruce, I'm so glad you've returned. What's the trouble, Alfred? I just found this in young Jason's room a short while ago. What? He says. A farewell note. Jason has run away, Alfred says. Choices. Do I stay in Gotham to live up to my responsibility as a boy's guardian, or do I go after that madman and his nuclear weapon? Well, Batman, that's not really much of a choice. You go after the nuclear weapon. What the hell? It's painfully obvious which path I must choose. The question is, how will I ever be able to live with the decision? So keep in mind, this is like a double-sized issue. I think all of these were double-sized, so this would have ended the end. But of course, we're going to go into chapter 2 here. So this issue is basically double-sized. So the northwestern Mediterranean coast of Lebanon. Before coming here, I checked with Ralph Bundy, a friend of mine at the CIA, which we met during the 10 Nights of the Beast, which I have covered. Check it out in the playlist. So we can see here Batman lunging. Why are they covered up? They're in their own country. Normally you cover up when you I don't know. It's how I guess we viewed things during back then. So That's how I found out about a hijacked C-130 transport plane. The plane had fallen into the hands of a Shiite extremist group who refuses to give it back to Uncle Sam. So I made a deal with Bundy. I'd fix it so his naval commandos could fly it out of here. So Batman's now involved in high political international drama. So if I got to examine the plane before it took off. So I've fairly good idea who flew it here. The dead naval pilot in the cockpit confirms my suspicion. This was the Joker's handiwork, all right. He was just shot in the middle of the head. Does he know that? Joker probably would have left him with some clever way, but my mini Geiger counter shows me that there is a high background radiation count in the loading bay. Whatever the nuclear device is that my old enemy has acquired, its warhead is leaking slightly. If the Joker's not careful, he's going to end up with radiation poisoning. I should be that lucky. And the Navy SEAL says, "We're taking off. You coming?" And Batman says, "No." The Joker's gotten this far, he says, which means whoever he's selling the weapon to is in Lebanon, probably terrorists. Hard to concentrate. I keep wondering where Jason is. Well, he happens to probably be going there. I find it hard to believe he took off just because I've temporarily curtailed his duties as Robin. The lad's been acting strangely of late, and I guess I know why. So we can see he's changing his Batman gear. Since he's not yet adjusted to the death of his parents, he needs time to work out his grief. Time won't find fighting crime by my side. Wish I could track down the boy and bring him home myself, but this Joker business takes priority. Lives are at stake. Yep, that's what I would have done too, Batman. So, but fortunately, Alfred's back home on the job. In fact, it's time I contact him via scrambled satellite relay. Oh, the toys Batman has. Home base. This is El Zul. Any word on the lost bird yet? Yes, says Alfred. I just completed a computer check on all credit cards issued to our runaway charge. He listed yesterday as a passenger on a late flight to Israel. I'll check it out after I'm done here in Lebanon. I'll call you again in 12 hours. Over and out. And Batman wonders, what's he doing on Israel? So, and here comes Robin. I hate this costume too. One of the best things they did was when they redid the Robin costume, because I just it just looks so dated. So anyway, I tried to go through channels, play it straight. I really did, but they just plain refused to tell me where Charmin Rosen is. I guess I can understand why. Governments don't willingly give out the locations of their secret agents. Standard procedures. But national security don't cut a lot of ice with me. I just gotta know where Miss Rosen is. The lady may be my real mother. Fortunately, everything's kept on computers these days. Oh, it gets better. Everything will be stored in computers, clouds, servers, you name it. Even where to find secret agents in case you need them. So, just think, we're 7 years away from Windows 96. So, wouldn't you know it? She's out of the country under the cover in Beirut. At least they've got the hotel she's staying at listed. No direct flights there from here. I'll have to do some plane hopping. Still, should be able to get there by noon tomorrow, he says. So, Beirut, a city in turmoil. Actually, I've seen pictures. These things should be, buildings should be destroyed. A capital torn apart by armed, polarized factions, each trying to seize control. Seems everyone either armed or crippled by the war. You can feel the tension on the streets. This is not a safe place for an American. Particularly a white one. So I love how they uh gave that olive skin. That was pretty cool. So that's why I'm traveling under a phony Northern Irish passport. Chances are the Joker came to Beirut to contact his customers. It'd be too dangerous even for him to take his prize directly into the Bekaa Valley where the radical elements are entrenched. Taxi, he is using here, Farsi. Trouble is, Beirut's a big city. Where to, Effendi? I'm hoping this cabbie can help me. Take me to the worst section of this city, the place where criminals gather. And this guy's like, huh? This is exactly what I'm looking for. Weapon smuggling. He's got to be this area's leading commerce. Selling information probably runs a close second, but I haven't got time to dicker and bargain. A change of clothes will make it easier to take the direct approach. I do like this. Instead of showing him change, just the shadows background. Selling supplies to the market, to the black market, medical supplies. Just the kind of guy I'm looking for. And so Batman jumps in there. I can tell by the expression on his face that this is going to be easier than I thought. Unlike Gotham, so these gunsills don't know about the Batman. He kicks off the gun. It's a case of unfamiliarity breeding fear. The guy can't wait to tell me everything he knows, which unfortunately isn't much. The next three characters I talk to aren't any help either. So I finally hit pay dirt with number 5. There is a man staying at the Hotel Blue offering to sell the object you seek. His name is Brando. Peter Brando? And the guy says, yes. And so Batman says thanks and just punches his lights out. He should be out for a few hours or so. Don't want him reaching Brando before I do. There aren't many hiding places in Lebanon, so what happens next isn't much of a coincidence. This is the hotel Charmin Rosen is supposed to be staying at. I guess I just wait here for her to show up. But then what? Do I just walk up to her and ask her she's my mother? Guess I really haven't thought all this out yet. And somebody, you can see a hand there reaching out and grabbing. What are you doing here? And he goes, Bruce, I asked you a question. I'm looking for my mother. And Bruce goes, your mother? Jason, she's dead. My stepmother's dead, not my real mother. So Jason tells me about finding his birth certificate in a box of parents' belongings. He discovered his true mother's name was S. something, not Catherine. He'd found 3 women in his father's address book whose first name started with an S. He'd even tracked them down using the Batcave computer. The lady I'm tracking now is Charmin Rosen, an Israeli secret agent. Shiva Wuzan, a suspected mercenary, also in Beirut. And lastly, there's Dr. Sheila Haywood, working on famine relief in Ethiopia. One of them must be my mother. And Batman says, not necessarily. I guess I realize that, but I've got this gut feeling. Besides, with you coming to help me, we'll track the mystery of who my mother is in no time. Jason, that's not exactly why I'm here. He listens to me tell about this affair with the Joker. That nuclear threat has to be dealt with first. You understand, don't you? Sure, Bruce. Nothing glamorous about hunting down a runaway. And what a brat. Jason, that's unfair. Jeez. Nuclear weapon at the hands of the Joker, or go find your mother. God. Jason's like, who cares? Oh my God. If you weren't ready for him to die after this, you trust me, there's a reason. This is why I keep saying the plan was for him to die. They made Jason so unlikable. Probably acting like a real teenager, and most kids were like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, get rid of him. Because they had the number that people could call whether to kill him or not. They kept saying it was close. I guarantee you that it was not. DC cooked the numbers to make it seem like more people cared, but And so both of them are like, look over there, that's Peter Brando, Charmin Rosen. So the two of them are together here. So what he needs. So looks like we're working the same case after all. And so they're getting into a car, says Robin. This way. I have a Land Rover. Bruce, they'll spot us following them on a deserted road like this. No problem. I have something here that will turn us invisible. Get into your Robin outfit. And so, yeah, those bright colors, no one can see them. So, if we stay far enough back, even if they do see a jet-powered hang gliders, they'll mistake us for birds. It's funny that I decided to bring a spare glider along. Maybe I'm getting precognitive in my old age. Even under these circumstances, it feels good having Jason by my side again. We shadow them into the night as they continue heading south. They finally stop at a camp near the Israeli border. We'll sneak up to the camp by foot from here as they land. So, how's it going here, Rupert? Manageable. Who's the broad? Name's Charmin. She's from Jersey. She's okay. Guess if you vouch for her, it's all right. You get the money from these bandits in bedsheets, pals? Right in this case, $1 million. Then, as Monty says, it's time for us to make a deal. Oh my gosh. There was a show from the 80s, but anyway. I've got the cash, so you are now the proud owners of a brand new 1988 cruise missile. I myself stole, dismantled, and reassembled this firecracker after smuggling it into your country. You made an excellent buy, gentlemen. You have the Joker's word on it. And so this guy here. I'm more interested in getting the firing codes and coordinates for the targets we discussed. Of course, Jamal. Here you go, pal. Pretty anxious to shoot your new toy at Tel Aviv, aren't you? Well, enjoy yourselves. My boys and I will be running along. Ta-ta. And this guy's like, I don't think so. You will remain here until after we launch the missile. We wish to make sure we haven't bought, how you say, a pig in a poke. Relax, boys. No reason we shouldn't stick around to watch the show. So, here comes Batman and Robin. And so, of course, this guy shoots the gun after Robin hits him because, he's not Batman. And Joker's like, no, it can't be him. Not here. And, of course, this guy's like, fire. Strafe the entire area. And so, out they go shooting. No one could have survived that barrage. And Joker's like, he could. Everybody, reload. You're going to check on who was out there. I will remain behind to guard the missiles. Rupert, you stay here also and keep the money safe. Spread out and stay alert, says Joker. So, international cooperation. Arab terrorists and American scum joining forces to kill us. There's a lesson to be learned from this, but Robin and I are a little too busy at the moment to appreciate the situation's geopolitical significance. We take it nice and slow. We whittle their numbers down, one at a time. The darkness is our ally. These men depend too much on gun. The feel of cold steel in their hands makes them overconfident, makes them careless. Easy pickings, and you can see how the two dispatch. I hear the sniper rise from behind the rocks. I'm ready to roll out of his line of fire and end up not having to. Charmin Rosen, Israeli agent, joins the fray. She shoots this guy in the back. Too bad she didn't check behind her before acting. I saw that, you little tramp. Gotta blow your brains out. And Robin's, of course, running toward her and says, no. And he says, what are you doing? Punching the coordinates for Tel Aviv. You're gonna fire the rocket now? And so, back here, the boy's angry cry has made him Brando's target, but just as I'm sure he intended. At that range, Brando will cut Robin clean in half. I'll never reach him in time to stop him from firing. No way I can save him. No way. All the proper codes are in. What do I do now? Just push the red button. And so she, of course, does her judo move. He shoots up. I really do like as Batman. I just this is kind of cool. So that one there, yeah, that's the one. Push it. So he pushes the little red button. And my God, what happened? The missile, it blew up on its launcher. And Robin's like, how? You can see here this guy's down. The Joker said he had dismantled and reassembled the rocket. Obviously, as a nuclear engineer, the Joker makes a good psychotic killer. We're lucky the warhead didn't detonate along with the rocket. And speaking of the Joker, he's escaped again. And of course, my money, because it blew up. All my lovely money burnt to crisp. Whatever will I do now? How'd your people tumble upon the Joker's nuclear fire sale? Sorry, can't say that. That's classified information. But I must thank you. You have done a great service for my country. Then how would you like to return the favor? If I can, how? By answering a question or two, such as, have you ever been to Gotham City? Ever had a baby there? Is this a survey or something? Well, have you? No, not in Gotham City. So, why did you want to know something like that? Sorry, can't say. That's classified information, says Batman. But I guess we can at least offer you a lift back to Beirut. Ever flown on a hang glider? Miss Russell didn't care for the ride. She breathed a sigh of relief when we transferred to the Land Rover. The sun came up by the time we reached Beirut. Nice lady, but not the right lady, right, Bruce? What now? God, Batman and Robin are riding in Beirut in their costumes. I love comic books, people. I'm not going back to the States. I have two more women to check out. Shiva Wuzin somewhere here in Beirut. Don't try to stop me from finding her. Wouldn't think of it. But what if she's not your mother? Then Sheila Hayward's in Ethiopia. Think I'll stick around. Make sure you don't get yourself in trouble. Suit yourself. And you can see that the two of them are kind of at odds. And so we're at the Beirut airport here. Yes, sir. How can I help you? One ticket to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, please. And you can see the Joker's kind of in costume here, or like in makeup. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes Batman 426. It was a double-sized issue. I apologize. I did ramble a little bit, but hopefully you were able to get through most of this. It's a good series. Robin gets his. So don't worry. It's comic books. He only gets his for so long. So like and subscribe. I do thank you for listening. Goodbye.